Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Zoom into Wine. It's time for the show and your host, Ian Blackburn.
Nice new hat.
Thank you very much. Very good day in Dodgerland here in Los Angeles. Hello, good evening, everybody. My name is Ian Blackburn. I'll be your host tonight for the Stars of Spain. And that was the band called Spain singing a song called It's So True. Kind of a crazy moment in the history of our lives as we watch things move around, and it's just great to be able to get together over a glass of wine. There's things we could bitch and cry about, but the wine's going to be beautiful tonight, so I'm very happy to have you all here tonight and to be able to talk all things lovely in the wine department. We've been doing these Wednesday Zooms for a bit of time, and I really enjoy them. They're very helpful in being able to communicate and do what I love to do, which is to talk wine, to push myself to learn. I'm still buying wine for the Merchant of Wine. We're producing Wednesday night Zooms, and we've got our little redesign going on at Wine Clouding, because we're going to start coming back with a vengeance of events, and we're going to be rebranding ourselves yet again, because we just couldn't decide what to be. So now we're going to be Learn About Wine going forward, because what's old is new, what's new is old. So we are Learn About Wine once again, and in the coming days you'll see a whole new website with Learn About Wine. And so this has been quite a journey for us, but we're very happy to still be here and doing something that we love. And so take a look at our calendar, some really fun events. We've got one spot left for our dinner tomorrow night at Umbu Grill. We're doing Palate Builder this weekend. Our first live Palate Builder, it's half price on Sunday if you want to come out and taste 18 wines blind. It's going to be a lot of fun, about $40. It's going to be a lot of fun to get people together. Saturday's on Zoom, and we've got customers all over the country still on Zoom. We just produced our largest Zoom ever. So Zoom is still going to be a very big part of what we do. And we're going to just balance it out. Occasional events. Zooms take a little bit of heavy lifting on the production side, but actually quite a bit less stress than a live event of magnitude. So we're going to step into these live events pretty quietly and softly, but be on the lookout for this amazing dinner that we're putting together with Chef Christopher Emmy next month. It's on Friday, June 24th. We're going to be in downtown LA at the Duclos Loft. Chef Christopher Emmy is a Michelin-starred chef, and we're going to be cooking an amazing meal with a selection of top Bordeaux's from different vintages. We're going to taste all of the first growths, and we're going to do it in our way, where we'll do them blind. We'll have a second growth and a third growth and a first growth, and we'll be able to taste them, see which ones you like, and reveal which one is the Chateau Margaux, which one's the Chateau Lafite, which one's the Chateau Latour. The details are still kind of coming together, but save the date and be on the lookout for an announcement about that dinner next week. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right, let's get on with our show. I think we're coming up to strength, so let's take a look. We always Zoom our events onto Facebook, so if you go onto Zoom into Wine, you can watch anytime. Let's say you're late, you want to watch the beginning, you want to watch yourself, the question you ask, whatever, you're part of the conversation. We want you to be very, very involved here, and it's something I just really don't want to talk to a flat screen. I'd love you guys to come off of mute, interject, throw down some ideas, get involved. Especially with the wines as good as they are tonight. There's just so much to appreciate. And so I'm taking a little bit different approach tonight, because we are working with some pretty extreme wines. So I did some interviews I let a lot of our talent in the importer world have the night off. We're going to be a little bit more succinct, spend a little bit more time talking together about the wine. So I do hope that you guys get really involved and make this special. And let's get started. Wine number 1 is in my glass. Welcome, everybody. My name's Ian. Glad you guys could be here. Cheers. This is a wine that I found not too long ago, and it just took my breath away because I've been tasting, looking for that 1 or 2 Albarino to really focus on. And this importer brought this in. I buy some La Rioja Alta already from this importer, and he goes, "Oh, La Rioja Alta owns an Albarino producer in the area of Rosal." And so I said, okay, let me taste it. The wine's just got this dramatic ocean air nose, and it's got incredible definition and chiseled acidity, wonderful structure and balance. And I got super excited about this, and you know, I'm very fortunate to be able to judge at different fairs, and I've written for some different publications, and I've been taught how to score wine. And I got into this uncomfortable place where I was like, I can't really ding this wine at all. And a lot of wines like this, they kind of peter out at around 93, 94 points because they're not a red wine. And I really think that white wines need champions too. The reason that so many people just drink red wines is because they're constantly told how great red wines are with their 100-point scores and their 99-point scores and their this and that. And white wines are topping out at 93 points. And so what we do is we take a look at the color. And to rate a white wine on color is a little tough because you get rid of the skin. So, hey, there's nothing wrong with this color. Can't take a point away from it. It's based on 15 points when you give a 100-point wine a score. 15-point score. So let's say we give it 14.5 points on color. Aromatics, come on. Wine in a glass, this glass of wine is just stacked with aromatics. Quite honestly, it's probably more aromatic and more beautiful than any red wine. 25 points possible. Let's say we take a half point away, we're at 24.5, okay? Body. A body on a white wine is not supposed to be thick and viscous like chocolate fudge. It's supposed to have a cleanliness, a brightness, a freshness. This actually has some weight. It's not too heavy though. And so on body, let's say, again, take another half point away, 24.5. Overall impression, 35 points. Taste it, smell it, pull your own thing together. It leaves me just incredibly passionate about this wine. Take another half point away. That's how I got to 98 points, and literally within days of me giving it that score, it got a 97-point score from Decanter, and so I felt very vindicated. This is a really fascinating wine. 96-point score in Decanter. Yeah, that's what I got. So let's take a look at our show. I want to get into that glass, enjoy it. If it's too cold, you're going to miss a lot of what I'm talking about because this wine can get really shut down with cold temperature. Let it warm up in the glass. Give it a little exercise, and give your lungs a little test. Keep going back into that glass. This is all about the way it smells. And you taste it and just feel how long that clean finish is. I love it. All right.
You're killing me with that.
Enjoying it, buddy?
Yeah, I can't join the tasting, but I just wanted to chime in and say hi. And since you had a Dodger hat on, I figured I'd throw my Angel hat on.
Oh, good. This is my brother Mike. He lives in Orange County. You can tell. I hope your wife's okay. She had a little bit of an accident today doing some chores for her husband, so they don't get to play with us tonight.
Well, I have the wines, and I'm going to save them for a little bit later. You'll have to send me the video so I can do my tasting with it. But sorry, I couldn't stay on any longer. But I'm sure it'll be a great event. Thanks, bro.
Thanks, dude. Be well. Say hi to Ashley.
See ya. Bye.
All right. Well, I won't have to worry about Brother Mike talking over the top of me all night. That's a good thing. So these are the lineup. Hopefully everybody got our beautiful materials that we sent out. My graphic team put this really nicely together for us. So there's a tasting mat you could have printed out. This shows you the order of the wines that we're going to taste. So we're going to start off with this Albarino. We're going to go to an oxidized white that I'm really excited about telling you all about as well. Then we'll go to the Altria Saint-Jacques wine from Raul Perez. That'll be number 3. The Benjamin Romero Bodega Contador Carmen Rioja will be number 4. Then we got the Venus La Universal. This is a spectacular Monsant wine from 2015. Can't wait to taste that with you. And then ending our spectacular lineup with Pingus, Florida Pingus. And that's just a legend in the making. I'm glad you like that wine, Lisa. So, let's get right into the Lager de Rivera. And this is from a part of the Rio Spacious area known as Rosal. It's a 2020. I'd say it's probably got this type of opportunity for the next 2 or 3 years. I wouldn't say this is a 5-year wine out from this point forward. I'd say drink your Albarinos until they're about 5 years old. They can still go longer, but they start to achieve different things, and it's a lot about freshness. This is known as a reductive winemaking process. There's no oxygen when they're making this wine. They're retaining freshness, and really trying to keep that all in check. And here's our winemaker, Julio Senez. He's the head winemaker for all of the Rioja brand called La Rioja Alta. And they picked up this teeny little producer that we're going to learn about here right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Zoom Into Wine. It's time for the show and your host, Ian Blackburn.
I have the great pleasure of introducing you to Jose Navarro, the U.S. export manager for La Rioja Alta, and he'll be taking us into this beautiful wine that I've discovered. He'll be starting off our Stars of Spain presentation. And how are you today, Jose?
I'm fine. Thanks to you for inviting me.
Super excited because this wine absolutely blew my mind when it was presented to me, and it's been one of our best sellers since we got it into the store. I'm very enthusiastic about it. I hope everyone gets to try it. Just a little word to the wise here too. If you chill this wine to a point where it's super cold, you'll restrict some of the aromatics. I encourage you to let this come up to close to room temperature, and not warm, but just subtly cool is really the perfect place to explore the possibilities of this wine. I sell a lot of Albarino. This is an Albarino blend with indigenous varieties from Rio Spacious, and there's quite a few wines in the category. This one just took my breath away. I gave it probably the strongest score in the marketplace. As a reviewer, there are things you look for, and I could barely find any reason to dent this wine. Too many reviewers are too restrictive on scoring. You know, they give red wines 87 or 97, 98, 99 points all the time. Why not give this wine a better score? And this has been my plea. I gave it 98 points before Decanter came out, so I was so excited to see Decanter give it a big, strong score.
And the video's up on that top right. We're not seeing it.
Yeah,
Jose,
I'm sorry about that. Allowing us to taste this spectacular wine. Tell us all about it.
Well, as you know, Paso de Chevane is part of the La Rioja Alta group. which is a family-owned winery. Nowadays, it's a group of wineries. We have 4 wineries. One in Rías Baixas, which is the one we are going to talk about, 2 in Rioja, 1 in Rivera. It was founded in 1890, and specifically the winery Lagar de Cervera, which is the winery where where Paso de Seoane comes. It was founded in 1988. So we are still being family owned. All the families are still in the everyday management, and we have been investing in land for years. So everything is state ground.
That's fantastic. Now, Julio Senez is the director of winemaking, so he oversees all the winemaking productions. And you got a team of people in Rio Spacious helping us make this wine, yeah?
He's the wizard. He's the wizard of La Rioja Alta. He's the man. He's the one who supervises everything, and he's the head winemaking director.
Rioja's over here in north, kind of the north central Spain, with where these wines come from. So this wine is from Rosal. And this is the Rosal area here, very close to Portugal.
That's right. You nailed it. Our vineyards are in Rosal, which are just in front of Portuguese border, Vinho Verde area. So our wines have that fruit forward, crispy, easy to drink, character.
Perfect. Now this is a picture of La Rioja Alta in Rioja, which is a really historic brand. I carry a number of Rioja from the brand. 4,000 years ago, Romans were in Rioja, and so this place has been an important spot for wine and really the origin.
We are one of the few wineries that still having a cooperage in house. Every year we import the wood from United States and France for the other wineries because La Rioja Alta we use only American oak, and we are constantly restoring, as you say.
And in 1941, the trademark ceded, so you got this beautiful logo, label, trademark, and so a long history. And here's a picture of the actual facility in Rio Spacious. Beautiful.
Yeah, that is Lagar de Cervera. In Rías Baixas, everything is small because almost all the wineries are family owned. So when you are in the area, almost every winery looks like a family house, right? Because it's how we make wine, and we used to make wine years and years ago. This is still being our way of training.
Now, just give me an idea. Do you know total production of this wine?
We don't do a lot of because La Rioja Alta seems a big winery, but we're still being small. Among all the wineries, we produce 1 million bottles in total. So I would say this would be like 20,000 bottles top per year. That are perfect balance with the Albarino, which, as you know, the Albarino has that green, white fruit, green apple, citrus, salinity in the area. So I think it's a perfect balance between, the Albarino and the rest of the varieties of the grapes.
Duero is a very prevalent grape variety in Vinho Verde, and Trechadura is an up-and-coming variety that people are learning about from Spain. It's a beautiful white wine. Jose, we thank you for letting us try it. I hope everyone gets inside that glass and really lets those aromatics kind of take you away, refresh. It's like a perfume. I want to put a little bit here and here. It's got incredible aromatics, beautiful position in the glass. When you smell, you taste, you feel, you get that exuberant nose that beautiful, seamless transition to this sizzling acidity with incredible concentration, and thank you for allowing it to be part of our Stars of Spain.
We wouldn't be nothing without, you. I mean, that you are,
It takes an army. It takes an army. We're just very fortunate to be one of your soldiers. So, forever, Jose. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Have a good day. All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Zoom into
Stop
Wine.
that action.
It's time for the show and your host.
All right. Thank you very much. So, what do you think? Any comments about our first wine? Love to hear what your thoughts are. I maintain that it just has wonderful persistence. It's got a great balance. I could still feel it cleaning my palate. It's got great acidity. A really pretty version. It's exactly what Albarino is supposed to do, and they nailed it. And we're talking about a teeny little production here. This is a great brand, but they're not grocery store oriented at all. I think we talked about case production. He was estimating somewhere around 5,000 cases for the world. So we've gotten more than our share into this establishment, but we're going to keep taking more if we can get it. And I still have an incredible stock on it, so help yourself. It's around $20 a bottle with the discount that you have tonight, and I think it's going to be even better in the summertime. All right, we go into our second wine, which takes us into a totally different direction. Just look at the color in the vial itself, and that was an intention here. We go from reductive winemaking with no oxygen to complete use of oxygen in an oxidative environment, using wood barrels, long term, and almost turning the wine into something that has even sherry-like aromas. This is not a sherry. Let's find out a little bit more about this wine looking at the slideshow. This wine was made by Alejandro Fernandez. He was the winemaker in 2015. He passed away in 2018, but he started a very important brand called Pesquera. And so this is kind of the white wine of Pesquera, and I won't want to say the same things twice, so let's get right into the video.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Zoom in Blackburn.
All right, now we move into our second wine of the night here at Stars of Spain, and I want to introduce you to Nick Serbone. Nick is with Folio, and Folio is the representative of the wine of our wine number 2. Veronica Ruiz is the expert, the importer, the director of import for North America, and so we've got a lot of talent here to talk about our beautiful wine. Veronica, how are you?
Hi, Ian. Thanks for the invitation. Thanks for choosing our wine.
Well, Nick walked in and brought some Ribera del Duero wines, and then threw this one down for me to taste. And I knew right away this would be something very compelling. We're coming out of a wine that's made in a reductive, very bright and clean style, and now we're going to move into the antithesis of that and show you what oxidative winemaking can do. And it really teaches the wine to age. And this is why when we found this 15 that's now at 7 years of age, that it's really showing off some beautiful tertiary type of aromatics that can be achieved. But you can't do that with a reductive wine. Reductive wines are celebrating freshness, and this is really celebrating a much different technique in winemaking. And we're very fascinated by this wine. Veronica, why don't you tell us all about it? And I've got a little PowerPoint that we'll go into. And please introduce this beauty to the group.
Yeah, so Haiden is the name of the wine. It's a combination of the name Alejandro Fernandez, our founder, and the name of the grape Haiden, which is the most planted grape in Spain. And the family were the pioneers. Alejandro Fernandez and Esperanza Rivera, our founders, were pioneers in producing wines in Ribera del Duero.
Very good.
And about this wine, it's produced in La Mancha, and that's a beautiful story because the family went on a vacation in La Mancha region, and they discovered a little tiny place that has some Haiden grapes planted, some vines, and it's only 6 hectares. And today, those vines are ages between 70 and 90 years old, and they decided to produce this wine. And like you said, they were looking for a grape that will have the potential for aging. But the family wanted to have, they have this idea that they wanted to do something very different with the grape and show the world that it's worthwhile. You can do something that is really high end, that is complex, that is going to be deep and with a lot of layers. And that's why they decided to use, and it's the only white that is selling from Spain in the US that has this profile. Is the only family using 100% Haiden grapes, because some other producers use the Haiden grapes to do blends in La Mancha. So they are doing 100% Haiden grapes, and they are aging the wine extensively.
Now we're showing the 2017 package on this slide because it did modify, so you might see it in the future with this package here. So here's the wine on the website, the name of the producer, the name of the wine, La Mancha.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Ian. This wine, when I first tried it a few years back, really just made me think. It's one of those wines where you put it up to your nose and you can't help but wonder really what is in there. It has so many of those primary fruits, the secondary earth, and then those tertiary notes where the fruit really takes on a different level, a different character to it. What I always get for this, and as a sommelier trained, you are really a bit of a poet. So you get to kind of say whatever comes to mind. If you're able to remember those notes through your olfactory sense, you can remember over 10,000 different flavors and bring those back to memory. So what I always remembered of this wine was the most delicious apricot pastry you could ever have. Just fresh in the morning, the sun is shining down, you just finished a coffee, and then here you go, the most delicious, freshly made apricot pastry. But the nose on the wine gives off so many different textures to it. And it's weird to say texture for a nose, but you really do get it. If you put your nose in the glass, it has floral notes to it. It kind of comes off creamy as well, like a creme brulee. Almost as if you could take a nice hibiscus flower and dip it into some creme brulee. I don't suggest eating hibiscus flower dipped in creme brulee, but that nose is really what you do get. It has florality, freshness, but then also these creamier textured notes to it. And I don't like to compare Haiden, let alone Alejandro or any of the wines that Alejandro and the family has ever made to anyone else. I think that it does it an injustice. The fact that we had a 2015 and we opened it, and Ian and I tried that, and as soon as that bottle was opened, it was singing. It doesn't need time. It was already had its time. It was sitting at its peak of its bell curve as soon as we opened it, and both of us just had to stop. I'm a trained sales rep. All I do for a living is talk, as you can tell. And both of us sat there quietly and just had to smell and drink the wine. It's one of those beautiful, beautiful wines that you just get all the different levels of taste to it. I love that Veronica brought up the story about how a lot of these producers will use Iran for blending, but also for brandy production. And you kind of do get that sweet brandied, I like to call it just apricot. There's all these tropical stone fruits. It's just sweet and brandied, but it finishes dry. It is a dry wine. This is not a dessert wine. You can drink it as a glass for dessert, but it is not considered to be dessert wine. It's a completely dry wine. So if you do smell a lot of those tropical notes to it, a lot of those more sweeter notes to it, take a sip. It's not going to taste sweet. It'll finish dry. The acid is going to clean your mouth out of all the extra notes to it, but it's going to make you wanting more. And all you can ask for a wine is to be unapologetically itself and to make you want to drink more.
Great job. Thank you very much, guys. It's a beautiful wine. I'm very proud to have it on the website, and we're one of the few places that you can find this wine. But I'm very proud to have it, and that's what I want to feature on the stores. Unique finds like this. Veronica and Nick, have a great day. Thanks so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right, I'd love to hear some thoughts about this wine. This is certainly a polar opposite of the first wine. Yeah, its color and its nose, it's dramatic. It's really got almost like again, that salty nose is there. If you were sitting and maybe closer to the south of Spain, you might even think this is a sherry. It's got kind of sherry-like marks to it, and its color, and then that whiff of salt air, that whiff of green olive. But then you hit all those that stone fruit and that like a marmalade, kumquat, orange peel, toasted orange peel. Maybe even like you're on your way to making a Manhattan and you crushed the orange peel with the stick with a sugar cube. Because Arion is the grape they use to make brandy, and it's also a grape they use for a lot of medicinal work, like literally making alcohol for medicinal purposes. Barbara, what do you think?
I was prepared. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear. My computer was going crazy for a while. I was prepared not to like this wine, and I am wanting more. I mean, he was talking about layers of texture. It took me a minute, and it is very layered, very nuanced. I love it. I get the salinity in the mouth too, and I love that kind of that acid that keeps it, fresh. And I don't know. It's just salivating for more, I guess.
Yeah, and with the right meal, you could really go into a million directions with this with food.
I like the apricot explanation.
Yeah, the pastry. Yeah.
Yeah, because it is that kind of brioche kind of. It's kind of a mouthful of yumminess. I don't know how else to. Not very technical. I'm not a trained sommelier, but
Ian, I'm kind of matching some of this wine with some of the food we have in here.
Okay.
And I combined this with we had this carrot, raisin, cumin salad.
ooh,
Perfectly with this.
Wow, that's cool.
And all I can say, it's voluptuous. This wine is voluptuous in all curves. I mean, it takes you to a ride that I haven't been.
It makes sense too that you like this, Hector, because I know I'm starting to learn your palate. This is I mean, this is barely a white wine, to be honest. I mean, it's
right.
like a red. It's got wood. It's got layers of almost vanilla and cream. So if you put this in a glass, a dark glass, and you gave somebody this wine, I bet you most people wouldn't even guess this is a white wine.
No, I think they would think it was maybe a late harvest, but it has too much acid. So, but Hector, I think the cumin is the right call for this. Those kind of spices, the more Indian spices. Oh, I bet this is good with Indian food.
Very well could be. Yeah, and smoky hamon influenced dishes.
You have any hamon there?
I did that last year. We did something with hamon, and
Oh, you did?
it was like right as the basically the wheels were stopping, the containers weren't flowing in, and I was looking everywhere for Iberico, and all of the stores were sold out, and I found it on a store and was able to get some delivered by some, I don't know, cart service, and I couldn't believe it, but I had to get like a 15-pound box of ham to get any at all, but I found some. So you have to search pretty hard.
It fell off a truck and you're like, I'll take it. Did the Spain folks come through recently? They were up here.
I don't know. I did not see that. If they did, they may have. I've been keeping my head pretty pretty focused. We just had Barolo come through.
Yeah, I was there. I didn't see you though.
I was there. Well, I was in and out about 4 times throughout the day, but tasted almost everything. Hope everyone else got a chance to do that too.
To taste everything was an achievement. I did not get to
I had to
taste
do that
everything.
in small bursts because
Yeah.
Nebula just rips you up. But check on the Gupta
Yeah.
family down in Orange County. You guys got a nice little group down there.
I was gonna say they do it right.
Yeah, I've seen them do this before. Can you guys hear me? Are you guys on there? You guys are watching, but you guys are probably in the middle of something. Natalie?
And I have a question. The grape varietal, the Ariane, is that indigenous to Spain?
Yeah, it is.
Because I remember
It's planted elsewhere as well. That's why it's one of the most planted grape varieties in the world, actually, but not just Spain. But it is often used for brandy and a big use is in the medical area of making alcohol.
Because I remember you having that Paul Hobbs night, and Paul Hobbs used it in an Armenian project.
Yeah, that's spelt similar. I'm not sure if it's the same, buddy. Ariane.
Is it considered not really a quality grape, and that's why it's not usually produced?
Yeah, I don't think that anyone's focused on it in this way, but these are old vines that he felt very passionate about, and he had something to prove with it. So that's basically the approach. Was he found something very different, and a lot of producers are using this grape. Don't get me wrong; it's
But for blending, huh?
Yeah, mostly blended, and it's kind of the same way. Back in the day, like grapes like Syrah were not labeled as Syrah; they were blended.
Petite Syrah, yeah.
Barbera.
Barbier. Can I ask? I don't know if you discussed this earlier because I couldn't hear anything, but that trellising method, the method of growing, or the vine. What am I trying to say? Is there any trellising, or is that just
that's what they do there? They do that because it's so bright, close to the water and the ocean. You're going to have that heavy fog and stuff in the morning, but then when it breaks out and you have those warm days, you're going to have this intense sun. So they basically trellis underneath canopy, and they'll grow it, so the leaves can grow up, and then they'll hang the fruit down below so they have some protection. That type of trellising is pretty old school. They do it in Italy. They do it in a number of parts of the world where probably pretty close to the ocean, and if they didn't do that, they would burn the grapes with the sun.
But is that typical? I would say in my wine knowledge, Spain is very minimal. But is that typical in Spain? I haven't really seen it much in Italy. But is it? And is there a name for it?
Yeah, there is a name for it. I don't know what it is. But it's something like a trellising system. It's
Española.
It really is very self-explanatory once I figure out the name. When we're off on another topic, I'll see if I can find it. But we're on a time crunch. I don't want to zoom at 9 o'clock to our last wine, so let's move into wine number 3. And thank you for enjoying our wine number 2. Beautiful stuff. We're going to go to Raul Perez, sorry. And this is one of the great wines on the planet. I'm absolutely certain, and I really hope that I can convince some people to come with me into the Bersco worship land. And that's what we're about to do as we open up our slideshow again. And one of the points of that last one that the picture didn't get to talk on is that when Alejandro passed away, he had all of these female family and female winemakers and everything. So this is to show you that this wine that we had was really made by all the women at the winery. So and it's a team of female winemakers at the winery. Okay, we'll get through that. And here's our next wine from Bersco. and let's get right into it and learn about this guy, our winemaker, Raul Perez. Interesting appearance. That beard is something else. You won't forget that face.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Zoom into Wine.
Introduce you to Marin Presk. She is with Skurnik, the importer of this beautiful wine from Menthia. And good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time zone we're in, Marin.
Good morning.
Good to see you. Let's go straight into our slideshow and talk about this wine from Raul Perez. It's a perfect slow decantation. If you got the bottle kit, you're opening this, now, I plead with you to taste it again in an hour or two or tomorrow, because this wine just has this beautiful unwinding that it does, and it really takes on another dimension. This 2019 just arrived, and we didn't know it was going to make it in time for this show, but it sure did. And what can you tell us about this producer, this brand?
So Raul Perez is, and it is both my opinion, but also is, he's gotten many accolades from many different publications, and is truly one of the best winemakers in the world. I feel comfortable saying that. He comes from this region of Spain, so we're in the northwest of Spain. And this is where he's grown up, and also where his family for many generations has also been involved in the wine business, growing grapes. So this is no stranger to what he's grown up around. He started in his family winery, which is still going on, but wanted to do things differently, and broke away at the age of 22 to start doing his own project. And this is kind of the best wine to taste, I think, to get an idea of his style, because it's his hometown, and it's kind of the wine that's kind of closest to his heart, and what he wanted, his stamp on how to make his own winemaking in a different sort of way. He has many different projects kind of throughout Spain, but this one is something he did almost in the Burgundy model. So what we have is the Ultrea Saint-Jacques, and that's kind of the village level. So it's a blend of different vineyards, a blend of different vine ages, although many of the vines here are very old. Some date back even to 1900. And he then does also single vineyard expressions. So kind of in that model, maybe they would be the Premier Cru, etc. And what makes him different is, they kind of say he was one of the pioneers of the New Spain movement. Kind of doing things lighter and a little bit of fresher. He does some whole cluster vinification, and he's always a little bit, not specific about how he ages things. But what he always does do is not follow any formula. So as you can see in the back there, you have larger barrels. In the front, there are smaller barrels, and pretty much universally across the board, he ages in all different sizes. So those 500 liters, those 225 liters, there's some cement all the way in the back. And it's really kind of his way of what he thinks is best for the wine. There's no, long, big, heavy new oak. That's not Raul's style. He wants something fresh and lifted. But if you taste this, it still has structure and concentration. With the Mencia, it also has an unspecified amount of other local varietals like Garnacha Tintorera, Bastardo, and that's just because he doesn't want to discard those grapes. They're co-fermented into the blend. They naturally grow in the area, and he wants to incorporate them in the bottle.
With the glass of wine to your nose, about an inch and a half away from your nose, I want you just to focus your nose and being able to smell this feature right here. This stony, rocky minerality comes screaming through the very top edge of that glass. And then the other features that I'm smelling are a lot of this stuff, this underbrush, this stuff that's growing throughout the vineyard. It is there. It is an element in the wine, and it's really just beautiful detail. There's a high level of selection here, that indigenous, varietal mixture that you mentioned. But the major grape variety here, Menthia, is really a unique grape that we're all kind of discovering at the same time. This has been around for a long time, but it hasn't been a major export. You're talking about a winery. Do you have any idea how much of this wine is made, Marin? It's in the small thousands of cases, right? It's not a.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we're not talking about 1 million cases or 100,000 cases or even 20,000 cases. I think it's like 12,000 cases, maybe.
Maybe.
For the world. I think of this wine, it's almost like it's where Pinot Noir and Grenache kind of connect, somewhere in the middle there. You've got all that herbs, spices, pepper, and yet the delicacy of like a Gamay or a beautiful Pinot Noir. It's really kind of right in between. And if you know me, I'm a huge Beaujolais supporter. But now this gives me another gear to pull, and I'm just super excited about it. This is probably the red wine I drink the most throughout the year, besides my own Zinfandel. This is my like, I love to introduce people to this wine. And this price point, this is a $20 bottle of wine. I also carry the higher end wines on the website. And I'm really passionate about it, as you can tell, but I just want you guys to get acquainted with this producer, trust the man, trust the brand, and go to Merchant of Wine and search for Raul Perez. I have 5 different wines from him on the website. Some of them are incredibly hard to get. Marin, thank you.
Thank you. Always appreciate it, and thanks for tasting and giving some love to Raul Perez and his amazing wines.
Well, thanks for letting us be involved. Take
Talk
care.
to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
So I do have a number of wines from this producer. This is the only one that approaches $20. The rest of them approach $50. But this is the Soldier. The other ones are like 200 case productions. And if you like this wine, do pursue other Mencia wines. Like she led on, this producer kind of brought about like reintroducing this grape with a different set of tools, because they used to just try to over extract and over oak this wine, and they tried to turn it into like a Rioja. And so here he's taking a much more hands-off approach and really letting the vineyards do the talking, elevating the fruit, and not just burying it with wood. Any thoughts out there? Anybody want to share? Any ideas? Any comments?
I love this one. I love Menthia in general, but this is really different. If I had tasted this blind, I would assume it was like a Grenache from Gigondas. It's so earthy and so dirty on the finish, and I really dig it. I think it's great.
Awesome. It's coming off a little smokier than it did earlier too, and I'm tasting it out of the tasting kits that I sent out today. It's got a little bit more of that kind of desert heat coming off of the top of the nose, just like a little bit of a dried underbrush, and I really smell that a little bit more than I anticipated.
The brambly character.
Yeah.
Can I ask the question? Would you, since there are other indigenous grapes blended in, would you refer to this as a field blend?
No, this is this when she said that, it's like little
Okay.
Italian field blend approach. They just put a couple of other vines throughout the entire property and pick it all at once. And that's basically what they're doing. But Menthia is the grape variety here. Now, in his other wines that I have, he gets very specific about percentages because they truly are artisanal blends of, like, he's using all of those other varieties in proportion. But here he's and again, this is more of a village level wine, so he's using more than just that one hillside. But in the other higher tier wines, he's using blocks, and he knows exactly what grapes are where and what percentages he's using and that kind of thing. So they're a little bit more artistic in that direction. But I'm telling you right now, if this is like 90% of the way there and it's $20 and you got to pay up $30 more to get the other 10%, that Prado principle really applies to wine in a big way. And that so this wine really achieves a lot at its price point. And this wine got a 94, I think it was Vinous, and the other wines didn't get anything higher. They're all 94, 95 points. I do think that the other ones have a little bit more in persistence and power and maybe a little longer aging window. This wine is brand new, just arrived. Anyone not like it? I see your hand. I wondered if that pouring it out on the screen was a signal.
I guess we're one ahead. I'm sorry.
She's one ahead. She didn't like
Oops.
No, that reminded me of like a Dutreuil Fleury or something. All that floral on the nose and a bright crushed crunchy cherry and things like that. I totally love it. Loved it.
Yeah, and the granite that you can totally smell.
Yeah.
That is Beaujolais.
Yeah.
Lauren, are you following me in my love of this wine?
Oh, I was going to say it's beautifully balanced. I mean, it's amazing, really. And for $20, it's a great value. My question I had for you, Ian, is of the other ones, I think there's 4 or 5 to choose from. What is your top choice?
I can't do that. Maybe ask me at the end.
No one will know.
Ask me at the end when we get through them all, and then I'll see how they performed in the jars, because I pick them out and tasting them out of a bottle, and I love tasting them out of the jars the night of the show to see what you guys are smelling and how these guys survived.
Ian, what I was referring to was the other ones of this winemaker.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, the favorite of those 4 that you are raving about.
No, because I haven't had them long enough. I literally just bought them like 6 months ago. I probably have had 1 bottle of each, and that's it, Lauren. This one, though, arrived 2 weeks ago, and I've probably drank a 6-pack already because I take it out everywhere. It's a different economy. When it's $20, you can pop them pretty fast. So let's move in to wine number 4 and see what Costa Bravo didn't like about my $150 bottle of Rioja, because this was the impetus behind the entire event tonight, was finding this treasure chest. Now, what happened that gave us this wine? The importer had this kind of on reserve for special accounts, and then all of a sudden the brand leaves the importer. So they come out with a list of wines that they have that they want to move out and say, hey, by the way, we had 4 cases of this wine, and they never had it in a brochure. They didn't, this guy's a 100-point winemaker, and these wines are hardly anywhere because they don't make very much. So when I saw it, I jumped on it, I grabbed it, I tasted it with the importer just to see, you guys have had it for a while. How's it? Why do you still have an 08? Why is it? What's about? So we got into it. I loved it, but this is earthy stuff. So let's go and see what this wine's about. And we'll get in there And this is wine number 4 from Bodegas Contador. And here we go. So I don't repeat myself at all. We'll get right into the wine and learn a little bit about Benjamin Romeo.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. It's time for the show and your host, Ian Blackburn.
Now I have the distinct pleasure of having Miss Haley Black, who represents Winebow, a fantastic team of very specialized sales people that import and distribute some of my favorite wines, and I'm always super impressed to find out just another star winery is inside your portfolio, Haley.
Yes, well, thank you for having me. Really excited to be talking about this often sometimes under the radar wine region and also producer. So right here we have a great picture of Benjamin Romeo, the winemaker and founder of the winery. And this is a true story of a great grandson in winemaking. He actually discovered an old castle or an old cave underneath a castle that he was really interested in and made a wine there back in '95. And he was it was kind of a fun little pet project for him, right? You know, he was making wine for a larger winery and wanted to do something on his own. And he made this wine and it turned out beautiful. And after that, he decided, okay, I'm gonna make a few more bottles of this, right? But there wasn't enough space. It was a very tiny cave underground. So he talked to his parents and said, hey, can I use your garage? But as he was making these wines in Rioja, the press caught wind of them, right? And he received a lot of great accolades and a lot of great press from around the world, Robert Parker in particular. And so he was like, okay, well, maybe I need to start just doing this on my own. Maybe I need to start focusing solely on this project. So let's talk a little bit about where we are and where the winery is located. So we're in Rioja, we're in Spain, so northeast Spain. So the winery is located in Rioja, Alta, just west of the river and south bank area. It's in a little area called San Vicente. And that's actually where the castle's located, where the cave was underneath, where he made the wine. So you have a little arrow pointing there, which is great. He did actually build a winery. He's not still making wine in his parents' garage, by the way.
Under the castle.
This was in the early 2000s when he really decided to dedicate to the project. Right now, he's working with 50 different plots from around Rioja. So as he kind of was starting to grow and build the winery, he sourced and found small, beautiful little vineyards to source the grapes from to make these wines. He really wanted to highlight different soils of the area, different microclimates, aspects, altitudes, and clonal variation. Different clones of Tempranillo and Graciano that he works with. This is a beautiful picture of the old, very old vines, goblet trained, so you can see their head trained vines, very typical of Tempranillo in the area. He works very, very sustainably with all of his vineyards. So, a lot of organic matter is being worked with to make sure that, there's not a lot of chemicals being used in the wines. So kind of very low intervention in that regard, which we love. Right?
I love this photo. It's just, they look like soldiers, waiting to do battle in this amazing piece of land.
Absolutely. And when you look at, here's some pruning happening. When you look at these vines, we talk about yields often, but sometimes we don't talk about how that translates into the wine, like what's in your glass. And so they're pruning here, and they actually prune down each vine to just one bud. So very, very low yields. And how that translates is, one, the vines are struggling, which we like. But having those low yields, you get really great concentration as far as complexity and flavor profile in the wine. And another reason why these wines just show and age beautifully. So here's the sorting table. So everything's hand sorted. You know, when we talk about him being very meticulous from sourcing all of these different plots and wanting to showcase these areas, it's not just in the vineyard and then it goes to the winery. So very, very meticulous as far as what's going to actually be the final grapes going into using the wine. And then some pictures of winemaking here. And I think this kind of really starts to showcase and talk about what is this wine. So the Carmen Gran Reserva, I like to talk about, it's an all-star of all of the wines that he makes, and that it's very unique. It's kind of the idea of tradition makes innovation or meets innovation, right? So 24 months aged in new French oak, and then 36 months in bottle before released. But really, when the wine's being made, it's only free run juice. So there's not a bunch of extraction. It's very gentle, and you get this beautiful, elegant finesse and expression of the wine. Tasting notes, you know, think aromatic herbs, sage, lavender, a lot of these floral notes, kind of dried cranberry. The glass really, really opens up to these kind of notes of vanilla, which you get from the oak, but also almost this kind of graham cracker and mixed with cedar. Very, very complex. It just keeps evolving in the glass. And this wine is just showing beautifully now, but will still do well if you want to lay it down in your cellar and revisit it in a few years or even in a decade, which I love.
Yeah, these styles of wine are built like battle axes. They'll go for a lifetime. And certainly when you put all of that location, low yield, meticulous winemaking together, you're going to get something truly special. And I was very stoked to be able to find this 2008. There's really very little of it made. You'd have a hard time finding it. This is a kind of a cult producer of wine. We hope that you'll do some other Zooms with us in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. My pleasure. Well, thank you for sharing this. It's a great story and a beautiful wine. And like you said, there's not much made, and you snagged what was left of it. So there isn't going to be much more to be found after this. Right. So, yeah.
Well, have a great day, and thank you for your time.
You as well. Thank you.
Talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. Haley Black, she's an incredible resource. Her job is to basically represent all these great wines for the small importer. She travels around the country and reminds them of some of the jewels that they have, and this is one of them. I'd love to get some comments from you. When I go to Chateauneuf-du-Pape and I taste a variety of styles, there's Chateauneuf-du-Pape producers that are really ripe and concentrated and oaky and push alcohols up, and then there's the opposite of that, and probably the greatest example is a brand called Chateau Reyes that where a lot of people in Chateauneuf-du-Pape could use up to 13 different grapes. Reyes is 100% Grenache. A lot of people in Chateauneuf-du-Pape are very ripe, high in alcohol, super extracted, super oaky. Reyes is 13.5 alcohol, and it's super restrained and doesn't even care about how dark the wine is. I think this wine kind of reminds me of the direction of a Chateau Reyes, and it's got a lot of those dramatic features, low yields, very tender. It's not super extracted. It's not super powerful. It's Tempranillo in a very different type of approach, and really nice in a 15-year look at how this wine ages. And look at that color. There's just the faintest amber on the rim. It's super purple still, and that's probably because of the 100% use of new French oak and the way this wine was handled, and also the selection. the nose to me is, I mean, maybe even more rewarding than the mouth. There's a leanness in the mouth, and it really does take on more definition if you're drinking this with food. If you're thinking of this as a cocktailing wine, it may not hit all the marks, but I really think that the acidity and the balance here just really shines with a great meal. Comments? How are the Hopes doing? Is David out there, Maria?
Go. Here we go. David's playing tennis, and he should be back shortly. So
Wow.
I'm David's father here with me. Yeah, Vern.
Hi.
Good. We love this one.
We love this. I buy my friends this.
He would give his friends that. He said.
Excellent.
Yeah, I love it. It's really good.
Yeah.
The nose is amazing.
It's a beautiful aroma. Oh my
Mhm.
gosh. Yeah.
While we're talking about that, sometimes I go in behind the scenes and make some adjustments. And I just want to tell you, I priced this wine at full retail, or close to full retail. But as we're talking, hopefully no one bought some yet. And if you did, I'll adjust you. But this is Carmen. I'm going into the inventory system right now, and I'm going to adjust the price down. So I'm not going to even tell you how much I'm taking it down. I'm just going to reward the people that like this wine. If you want to get some, I probably have almost all that ever hit the shores of California, which isn't very much, just under 24 bottles. I did pay a good amount for this wine, but I paid probably half what it was originally valued. So the price just got slashed pretty dramatically, and you can still buy it and even save 10% more with your discount code. So take a look. The price is pretty attractive on the and I'm going to take that price back up 24 hours from now. So if you like that wine, get in there, grab some. It doesn't have a lifespan. This is a forever wine. You could probably 20 years from now open it up and see what it's doing. I hope you enjoyed. Costa Bravo, is your wife okay?
She's okay. I was really working her hard because I love this wine. This, for me, this was just sort of encapsulates everything that Rioja's about. But
she doesn't have a fever. She didn't lose her sense of taste or anything like that. That's good.
She's actually picking up the kids from art class. She's like, I'll go.
No, it's okay not to like the wine. You don't have to agree with me or anything like that. I mean, everyone's got a different sense of taste, but it's to me, it's sometimes less is more, and this is one of those wines where it doesn't have to press on the pedal so hard to really make you happy. All right, let's go on to wine number 5, because that's what we're here to do. We're here to taste some amazing wine and explore the country of Spain. I'm not sure, how many of you have been to Spain? It's such a diverse country, from the northwest corner, where you got places like Ria Spacious. Maybe you've been to Bilbao or San Sebastian, or maybe over in the northeast corner, you've been to Barcelona. We're right in the heart of the country where Madrid is. You can go up just a little bit north of Madrid and you've got Ribera del Duero, and just a little bit north and west of there is where we were tasting the Mencia wine. Or you go all the way to the southern extremes where you get like a lot of more influence, and you've got wines like the sherries, which we just did a class on sherry that pretty much screwed up my entire life because I became a sherry fan putting that class together. And now I'm like taking sherry with me everywhere. My friends are like, what is this? So sherry is another really interesting thing. I don't like all sherry, by the way, but great sherry is changing my life, and people are introducing me to great sherry right now. So I picked up a few of those. And then there's this value zone, like kind of like if you're looking at the US and you were looking at Kentucky, and when you look at Spain, where you look at Kentucky and Spain, you're right there. There's this huge amount of volume of wines that are coming out of there that are like 100-year-old vines where they're making $10 wines that are really delicious. They're made for really like ready to drink type of purposes, but they're just impossible to replicate. You can't make wines like that here in America with these price points. This is really kind of an amazing amount of riches, different price points, different perspectives, different ideas. The country went through a lot. There was a time period where the politics there got really dark, and it really kept a lot of business out of doing business, a lot of people from doing business with Spain at all during the Franco period. So it's all been up and to the right for the last 30, 40 years. And this is another region that benefits from even, more progressive thinking. This is wine number 5. And I have never had an experience like I've had trying to get a video made with this couple, but they are very artistic and beautiful people that are super passionate about the land and their place and their winemaking, and they literally live with a purpose of not having a high impact, not having a footprint, living in a very sustainable way, and really celebrating great wine with those type of ideas. No chemicals, no herbicides, no pesticides. They look to leave the land better than they found it, and they're beautiful in that regard. This is the brand's called Venus La Universal, and they jokingly kind of say that they live at Venus, and so this is their Venus, and it's got a big name, Venus La Universal, but it's a teeny little brand. And in fact, they make wine for very successful and expensive producers as their day job. This is their project where they do it basically at night and on the weekends, and they have a couple of employees during the day that take care of some of their day-to-day stuff. But these guys have full-time, big-time jobs, and they come home to their own projects. Let's go through it. This is Raul Perez and Renee Barbier, the winemakers, husband and wife, and they live at the property. They make several different wines. His white wines are also phenomenal and were very much considered for this event. But I wanted to get in the northeast corner. It's up near Barcelona, up near where cava is made in Pendejes area. The just over the hill is where they make Priorat. And so this is right on the other side of basically Priorat's like the inside of the volcano, and Monsant is on the outside. So it's a really high elevation spot. Sorry, my thing just went crazy. High elevation, rocky, stony, and let me just show you, if I can, where we are. We're right up here in Monsant, and Priorat's right here. So it's basically like a ridge line away. And when you look at the greater map way over here in the corner, there's a map of Spain, And you can see Barcelona's right on top of it, and Priorat's right, Monsanto and Priorat are right down below. The green here is Priorato, and the surrounding mountainside is Monsanto. Now, I recorded some video, but I'm going to save that. It's quite a long video. If you'd like to watch it, I will send it in a follow-up email to everybody so that you can learn all about the brand. They spend only a moment talking about this wine, so it's quite extensive. But basically, the messaging is what I've just already told you about their passion for living this lifestyle and really being a great human component to the solving some of the problems. They want to tread lightly and leave the place better than what they found it. And I think that's a wonderful spirit. Here's a view from the top of their hill looking at over a greater Monsanto area. And they do all their work in a biodynamic biosphere. So everything, the birds, the bees, the flowers, everything's in balance, and that is a healthy ecosystem. Their vineyard goes straight up the hill to the top of the hill where the water tanks are for the city down below. And that is my slideshow for Venus Universal. This wine is, here's my paperwork, 100% Grenache. And I'm going to show it to you on the website. It's going to take me 1 second. By the way, if you haven't been to our website or know how to find it, I'm just going to show you how easy our website is. I love using this little search thing up here. You hit that, go down here, and you just type in Venus. Boom. Here are the wines I carry. There's 2 wines that are both from the same producer. I carry the Dito, which is their daily Tinto that they make from their vineyards and the vineyards of others. This particular wine is the one that we're tasting today, is the 2015, and it's the Venus of the La Figuera. This is a neighboring town, a neighboring village. This vineyard is absolutely the pinnacle of Grenache. And by the way, Renee, the winemaker, is the lead maker, one of the lead winemakers at Clos Mogador. Mogador makes $300 bottles of Monsanto. So the technical analysis and ideas here are pretty well tested. And if you don't know who Mogador is, I do have, I think, Mogador on my website right now. We can do that too. Oh no, I don't have Mogador. I have Erasmus, and they're about the same price, about $250 a bottle. But I had Mogador before, and then I just brought in Erasmus. But these are the beasts. These are the defining wines of the region of Priorat. So when I'm looking around and I'm trying to find great wines, I'm looking for something really interesting, really small, really special. And this guy is absolutely a vine worshiper. And this is Grenache, or Garnacha. And it's pure Garnacha, grown on the mountainsides, dry farmed, biodynamically grown, natural. One of his principles, he's never brought any yeast onto the property. Everything is indigenous yeast, bottled without much sulfur. So sulfur is about the only thing he brings onto the property, and he mostly uses sulfur in the vineyard to protect, which is a naturally occurring thing that you can do that in a biodynamic environment is a little bit of sulfur. Lots of pepper spice, black pepper, fresh cracked pepper. A lot of vegetative nuances, tomato leaf, tomato plant, olive, very savory. The soils up here, the top of this volcanic area, they're inside of pre-rot. They call them Licorata soils because it's like clay, schist, clay, granite, just layers. On the outside, it's a little bit more large stones amongst the different soils, and the soil strata is pretty broad. And there's even sand and other soil types that you don't find inside of a volcano. But here in this particular vineyard in La Figuera, it's really like a place to worship Grenache. They don't even allow any other grape to be grown in La Figuera. So it's a pure expression of Monsant growing Grenache, and it's so pretty. And I really think that if you were to blind taste this wine, you'd have a hard time putting it in Spain. I think it's very, very much like a Rhone, like Southern Rhone, like a Vacara or Gingondas, or potentially some of the little satellites there. It has maybe a little bit of an attitude, Spanish attitude, a little bit more dramatic features, higher altitude can provide, and that might give you a clue or take you away from the Rhone. Does anybody have any comments about this wine? Positive, negative, yay, nay?
Yay. I love it. I like Grenache though. But it's a lot going on, but it's elegant.
Got a lot of brown spices, a lot of cinnamon, a little bit of red and black pepper. It really stimulates my appetite, and there's a leanness to it as well. I think some people like a lot of wood on their Grenache, and I know he's using really older wood barrel here.
Ian, we got a question to ask you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're tasting this. I get the spice, get the cinnamon. A lot of juniper berry in this wine is like a kind of a bitter finish, like a skinny berry. What do you think of this wine?
I think the tannins are pretty present and kind of set you up with that soft mouthfeel. You're not expecting the tannins. That's what Grenache does. It's kind of like Grenache is like Pinot Noir with muscles. And you put that soft velvety finish in there, and you're like, whoa! Then it finishes with that kind of like contrast and bite. This wine, as it says on the notes here, 2,904 bottles were made. I love Parker and the way he gives us some really good information. That's another thing. I told you about the indigenous fermentations. This guy does insane, like long fermentations too, because he does have a cool cellar. It slows it down. We're talking, he gets worried when his red wines are fermenting for over 6 months. Nobody says that. And then he's like, white wines, I get worried when they're fermenting for over a year. So those are common things for him. So really, he's definitely trusts and knows his area. He's probably working, the fruit probably has a pH close to 3.2 or 3.3. So it doesn't have much to worry about with those long fermentations about it turning into vinegar. But it does have the Grenache muscles, the tannin, and that can be a little different for some people. And then often why we blend Grenache with other grapes is so that tannic thing becomes a little less accentuated, because you've filled in the center a little bit with something else like Syrah or Mourvèdre that kind of gives it a little bit more plushness and kind of doesn't surprise you so much. But this is pretty raw. And would be considered by all definitions a natural wine. All right. I hope you enjoyed Venus, La Universal, and I would highly recommend you pick up any of their bottles and give them a shot. They are always a ride, and I'm really enjoying the brand. It's beautiful packaging, by the way. If those of you that got the bottle, that wax top can be a little thick. You could just break right through it with your corkscrew. You don't have to cut off the wax top. I sent out a note, and I wanted to say that, but I forgot. But you can just pull it right off. You don't have to carve off the wax top. Did anybody do that with the bottles? Anybody get hurt? Hope not. All right, let's go on to wine number 6. And despite my plan, we're still not sticking to our time period, so I apologize for going a little bit long. But I thought my new idea would result in a shortly tighter cast tonight. Here we go with Pingus. And the wine we're going to taste is Flor de Pingus. This is Peter Sisek. Let me get right into the video.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ian Blackburn.
All right, now we're joined by John Silcox, the U.S. representative for Rare Wine Company and the official importer of our beautiful Ribera del Duero wine, the Flor de Pingus. Hi, John. How are you?
Doing well, Ian. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us again. We've talked on many occasions. You have some beautiful wines that you represent, and we're very excited to share with everybody the story of Pingus and the Flor de Pingus wine. Ribera del Duero is about an hour and a half north of Madrid. And this region has a couple of stalwart brands that have really made it the golden area for red wines. Pingus being one of them. Vega Sicilia.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if you think about it, I would say Vega Sicilia, Pingus are definitely at the top of the food chain.
Peter Sisek.
Peter Sisek, yeah.
He's been just a champion of quality for a long time, and we have a number of different wines from Peter Sisek. He's involved in a lot of different projects, but the Pingus project is paramount, number one, and all other things kind of are children of Pingus. Is that fair to say?
That I would, yes. Everything. Peter came to the region in 1993 actually to start a different project, Hacienda Monasterio. So that's where he started. But seeing all these really, really old vines, these bush-trained old vines in the region, he had his eyes set on venturing out on his own and really creating something that was unique and very of the place. And that's where Pingus originated from in his mind.
The beautiful hills of Ribera, some of the classic architecture. This is beyond classic. This is ancient, but some beautiful scenery and some optimal growing conditions here. here's a look at the Pingus facility,
Mm-hmm.
compound, as it looks like quite a spot with some really old vines. We're looking at Tempranillo here, and that the winemaking style is kind of taking a little bit more from the Bordeaux approach. Would you agree or disagree with that comment?
Yeah, I would agree. That is the case. It was the case. I think the pendulum is swinging back the other way. It started as very much a Bordeaux, heavy Bordeaux influence. If we're speaking specifically in the context of Pingus, the wines have moved in a different direction since then, and in my opinion, actually, a lovely direction. They've there's always going to be power because it's Rivera, but it's also, at the end of the day, like, the wines have more restraint on them now. They're lighter on their feet.
And you can see different conditions here. This is a little bit more modern, maybe a little bit more Bordeaux in its approach.
Mm-hmm. I think it's important also, as you're talking, Ian, about farming and such, is that Peter Sissick is a huge proponent and an expert in the region on biodynamics. So I know that's a big talking point for a lot of people these days when it comes to their wines and such. So, Peter has employed biodynamic farming at the estate since I believe it's 2001. Yes, Peter's touch. I think a big thing, and which is probably a good segue as we jump into talking about the wine itself. Incredible. He's incredible when it comes to just seamless wines. Like, the wines are, absolutely beautiful, and everything flows together, and they're very much, the sum is greater than its parts, and that's Peter's touch for sure, layered on top of the impeccable farming that he has.
Parker, 96-point score, talks about taking a cask sample. And these wines are always super impressive, deeply colored and layered and really stunning. How do you summarize this wine and describe this wine?
Specifically 2019, what's really nice about this wine, in my opinion, is the freshness of it. As we mentioned earlier, there will always be the power of Ribera del Duero in the wines, but this wine is just, it's lighter on its feet, still with concentration, of course, because it's of the place, but there's the aromatics just really pop, and there's a freshness to it that I really, really enjoy. And I think a lot of that freshness as the years have gone on, specifically, like Peter has employed more and more stem inclusion and less new wood. So the purity of fruit is front and center these days. And, with that stem inclusion comes some like really, really enticing aromatics that just really pop in the glass, that I enjoy very much.
Winemaker's tasting notes focus in on the cedar, vanilla, chocolate, dark plums, dark cherry, licorice, and anise. And at $100 a bottle, I'd like you to put it in the context of other wines of the world. And I think that if this wine were out of Bordeaux, would this only be $100 a bottle? I think that you could argue, put this wine in Napa Valley and you're looking at a $250+ bottle. So it really is about the value that you can create in Spain, and the growing conditions and the varietal are all perfectly expressed in this sensational bottle of wine. Really, always exotic, but it's just a special wine that you need to know about and consider in your set of great reds. And I think if you open this up at the table and all your friends are bringing their Napa, standards, and you blinded this wine on them, they would blow them away and potentially, take the prize, because this is what this wine does. Thanks for joining us tonight, John, we appreciate you being here and your input on this Pingus wine.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Hope to see you again soon, man. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Ian.
And there we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Zoom into Wine.
That's enough of that. Well, I hope you guys enjoy Pingus. Pingus is a super high tier of Tempranillo, and Peter Sisek is a legend. And his number one wine, this, by the way, is the second wine of the estate, called Florida Pingus. Slightly younger vines, but he's been elevating the wine every year. And I will say this wine's probably the same price that it was 10 years ago. So the quality, the freshness, as he said, I know what he's talking about. These wines used to be about how much wood you could pack into the wine. And now it's really showcasing more Rivera, more winemaking with that stem inclusion. The nose is really beautiful, so pure. And that's what it's about, is having that singularity of the grape variety, singularity of the place, really optimal place. This is known as like the Millionaire's Mile, with Vega Sicilia, Pingus, and a number of other really good wineries that get a lot of money for their wine. Pingus, the number one wine of this property, sells for over $1,000 a bottle. So this is Florida Pingus, and at $100 a bottle is actually a larger production than the Pingus itself. So this is really the wine that people get to see and hear, and occasionally you get to see an actual bottle of Pingus hit the table. But these vines are ancient. They grow right and around the area that Vega Sicilia has also been in for a very, very long time. It's a wine of kings, of presidents. It's celebrated all over the world. It's at the top Michelin star restaurants. It's a wine that you could bring out at any time, any place, and get some credit for having. And this 2019 is another very important, great vintage. And you can see that Peter's had an evolution in his thinking too. By the way, Peter Sisek is very involved with helping grape growers throughout Rivera improve their processes. And he believes that as other grape growers and other wineries improve, it will only bring more traction to the Rivera and to his wine, which is sitting at the top of the chain anyway. So it's a really great plan. He's out helping other growers. He has other projects too. We have another wine from him on our website called PSI, and the word Pingus is involved in that. And it's basically his outreach to other growers and making a nicer wine that it comes in the $30, $40 range. And that's the PSI project. But Florida Pingus is actually made at the Pingus estate. PSI is made at another property. Questions, comments? Lillian Rodriguez, good to see you again. Did we not have you on a Rioja Zoom a while back?
No, I'm completely new.
Oh,
So
same name. I just never saw you before, so I was going to say this is my first time seeing a picture of you. Thank you for joining us tonight.
sure, I truly enjoy it.
Great, great. Maria, I hope the entire Hope family had a good time tonight. Always great to see you. I'm working on Stars of Pinot, Maria. We're hoping to come back. We're having some problem with venue and we're working it through, but we got about a month and a half to iron it all out. So
Great. I'll be there.
Love your talk. Love your talk, Ian.
thank you.
Really great.
Thank you so much. That's so kind of you.
Yeah. Great. Every time we tested a wine and the aroma, you had already spoken before, and it was right on the numbers.
What's nobody talking about?
I'm just going by what I tasted and the aroma, and you had already spoken in some senses, and it was perfect, on the money.
I had to plant the ideas in your head. That's the idea.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
No. I'm glad to see you. Are you visiting from Canada?
Yeah, we're just north of Toronto, not far from Lake Ontario, but yeah.
Very good, very good. Well, I've been able to travel the world with David and Maria, so great friends and
Wonderful. Thank you for being their friend.
Thank you for letting them exist.
Wow. Partially, yeah. Maria, I used to go to Maria's mother and dad's, and Francesca used to make their own wine. I used to drive my car there. I think it was a 1960 Pontiac, and I'd walk home.
Oh, wow, cool.
Yeah.
Wine.
Too much wine.
Maria, correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't you and David meet in high school?
Yes, we did.
Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, yes.
And they celebrated their 30th wedding anniversary with us in Piedmont.
Oh, wow.
About 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
35's coming up.
My wife and I met at the same high school as David and Maria, and we're celebrating our 60th.
Wow, how cool.
Isn't that cool?
That's amazing.
Amazing, yeah.
As a married man, I could say that's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not that difficult, really.
You get past 10, you could go 60, I'm pretty sure. Well, great to see you.
Thanks so much, Ian.
Thank you. Thank you.
Cheers.
And how's our friends in Orange County doing there? Cool. Good.
We're doing good. Good.
I'd love to have, like, you guys tell me in the chat box. Let's see. Let's take a vote. What was the best wine of the night? Because somebody asked me earlier what my favorite wine was. I'll give you my opinion after I see everybody's chat, but I already know what I'm gonna say.
Some of this wine, by the way, so
Are we unmuted?
about a half hour ago.
You're unmuted. That's good. That's good. And you guys did bottles, so you got to visit it a couple of times.
And revisit.
Yes.
Revisit, yep.
It was amazing.
My brother was supposed to have a whole group at his house, also in Orange County, to do the same thing you guys are doing, but his wife had a little accident today. She had to go get stitches and the whole thing. So
that's not an excuse.
Sorry to hear that. At least he's not coming in or anything. Yeah. I wanted her to persevere and get on there. But
we like that.
Yeah.
The wines are great tonight. Great selection, Ian. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys.
Yeah, enjoyed it.
Fantastic.
And thanks for all the information.
Well, it's always fun to pull it together. I learned so much doing it, and thanks for supporting. We will be back next month. We're going to have Stars of Sonoma. That'll be going up for sale next week. We've got a couple of wineries we're still working on, so we don't have it quite all nailed down, but we will by next week, and it's going to be a really beautiful showing of great wines of Sonoma. And then in July it'll be Pinot Noir. July will be the first time that we're going to do a Zoom one night, and if everything works out the way it's supposed to, we'll do the Zoom on the Wednesday the 20th, and then the live event on the 21st. So we'll see how it goes, and we probably will have very different wines on the Zoom and very different wines in the live event. But there's a lot of sand to pound before that happens. We are out there working on it right now, and it's building events in 2022. I don't know if I can have enough lead time. It's every day is a fight. Getting a hotel has been a challenge. Getting wineries, when you're talking to wineries that have persevered fire and flood and all that stuff, and a lot of wineries don't have wine. I got one winery that has plenty of wine. He doesn't have any bottles to put it in. It's just really a pretty interesting challenge for the world. So we'll see if we can pull this all together. But we will have the Zooms continue every Wednesday, Zoom into Wine. Those of you that are on the Zoom tonight got a special code. Every wine on the website is 10% off. I did take that price of the Rioja way down. Hopefully you guys check that out and may want to grab one of those. The Pingus, I couldn't do that too because it's already priced to perfection. It's an expensive wine to begin with, and they don't let anybody make too much money on that wine, but it's really, really special. And we continue to add. We're going to have one of the biggest weeks ever because we just had one of our biggest weeks ever. That's how, when you run a wine shop, you sell wine, you get to buy more. So the first 2 weeks of this month were the 2 biggest weeks we've ever had in our wine store. I'm happy to tell you that. By the way, April was one of the worst months I've ever had, so it was really nice to have a great couple of weeks in the first. I think it was all taxes, and April just blows for a lot of people. And then you got your tax refunds, and then boom, people started buying wine, and that's what happened in May. So we're going to have a little bit of an explosion of wonderful new wines coming in the next 10 days, so keep an eye. We maintain our free shipping policy in LA and $10 shipping anywhere in California. So keep on looking at Merchant of Wine, and thanks for your time tonight. I hope to see everybody again, and tell a friend, get your friends to get together and enjoy like they're doing down in Orange County with the Guptas, and or get your grandparents to come into town like Maria did and her dad, and get some good people together. But I love seeing all your faces. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Ian.
Have a good night, everybody.
Cheers.
Go Dodgers. Go Dodgers.
Giants.